talk to an infant who can't talk to us?
Well, across all cultures, we seem to adapt in the same way to being face to face with someone, and you're deciding, how exactly am I speaking to this person? And so this motherese phenomenon, or otherwise called parentese, because all adults do it, and even young children when they're talking to their baby sibs, they use a tone of voice that's different. They use a different, a slower way of speaking, and a way that invites the other to jump in, to collaborate in this conversation. So when we're parents, without knowing anything about what we're doing, this is all implicit, it's not explicit. You turn toward a little one, and instead of talking like we are, you say, hello. How are you? And you raise acoustically, we know what it means. We raise the pitch of our voice, we speak very slowly, we make the vowels so clear and the consonants so clear. In other words, we clean up our act. We speak in a way that's grammatically simpler, that talks about the here and now semantically, and we have this voice that's like an acoustic hook for the baby. And so for many years, people thought, it got a bad rap. Baby talk. Oh, don't use baby talk. When in fact, when we start listening and recording real parents or adults, any adult talking to a child, we see that it has all these wonderful properties. And I remember beginning to wonder, well, I wonder if any of this is good for the child. We do it, and we seem to do it universally. And we modify our voices all day long as we talk to people because they need more or less clarity. And we started to analyze the vowels across countries, women in Russia, women in Sweden, and women in the United States. And we saw each and every one of the mothers that we recorded speaking to their little ones, 2- and 3-monthers, as opposed to speaking to us as adults, had these very long and exaggerated and sort of acoustically highlighted vowels and consonants. And so it is a very unusual sounding. I think it comes from the heart. It is not something you pretend to do. And if someone isn't doing it, so a depressed mom, for example, you cannot teach her how to do it, or how to teach a father who's not happy. It is a kind of emotionally satisfying, linguistically simpler way of communicating that takes both the heart and the mind into account. It's a perfect signal. And our research is demonstrating that the prevalence of this parentese at home, when parents are just talking to their kids and the babies have little microphones on, little teeny tiny ones in their vests, and we're recording their auditory worlds, what you see is the prevalence of this parentese signal predicts very reliably a year later the number of words that this child knows. So we believe that connection supports the argument that parentese is a very good instructor for language, and possibly, again, because it links the social and the linguistic, it ties social and cognitive things together. Rather than thinking that they're in totally different worlds, it unites them.
So I really like that you're using the word parentese, because I remember looking at this literature a long time ago, and Motherese would pop out at you all the time, and much of the research is on moms. Is there a role for dads?
There's definitely a role for dads, and I think the reason it started as Motherese was that the mothers were the ones in the experiments. And even when Charles Ferguson named it Motherese in 1964, it's because he was observing cultures all over the world, and noticing that even in tribal communities, you would see the mothers who he was recording with the babies, they would be using this tone of voice. And so he named it Motherese. And so it stayed Motherese until someone was clever enough to do an experiment on the dads and recognize that fathers were doing it too, and younger siblings were doing it, and grandmothers and grandfathers and everybody, even non-parents. That was another experiment that someone cleverly did. It isn't about being a parent, it's about wanting to engage a child. So I think it doesn't happen if you're emotionally robbed, if you're depressed. It doesn't happen. You don't use it, and you also don't talk very often. But if you want to engage that child, whether that child is your own or any child you've you've just happened upon, you're going to use this tone of voice that has this emotional component and this linguistic component that is most likely to engage that child.